And joining me now is our friend, Representative Sydney Kamlager-Dove from California. She sits on the House Foreign Affairs and Judiciary Committees. So welcome back, Congresswoman, and Happy New Year. I haven't spoken to you yet in this year, so here we are. We have the FBI responsible for investigating how events unfolded in the shooting of Renee Good. But Governor Tim Walz has said he's kind of pessimistic about how fair their singular probe will be. Take a listen.
I think it's clear to everyone as they saw this that it feels now that Minnesota has been taken out of the investigation. It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment.
Why would the FBI prevent local and state agents from also investigating this case? Why not have multiple eyes look at the killing of a 37-year-old American mother of three?
That's a very good question, and we all want answers to that question. You know, my heart goes out to Renee Good's family, and actually for everyone in Minnesota. She was a wife, she was a mother, she was a Christian, and some of her final words were, "I'm not mad at you." That's what she said to the ICE agent. And now we have, it looks like Donald Trump is deputizing ICE agents as mercenaries to harm the American taxpayer. While multiplying that with devastation and harm that we're seeing in the communities. And that runs contrary, Alex, to the First Amendment. People have the right to peacefully protest, contrary to the right of states having sovereignty to do their own investigations in collaboration with the federal government, and contrary to the notion that we should be able to call them up before our committee to have oversight and to ask them the tough questions. I don't know why Kash Patel would not want Minnesota to be involved in this investigation. I don't know why they potentially want to cover up misinformation and lead the American people down the wrong path. But I have no faith or confidence in the DOJ or in the FBI to conduct this operation with transparency and with the oversight that it deserves.
You recently called for a probe into a non-fatal shooting during a federal immigration-related traffic stop. How concerned are you overall about this uptick of immigration operations turning quickly violent? I mean, is there anything that Congress can do to curb ICE agents from seemingly taking the law into their own hands with impunity?
Well, you know, that case that you referenced happened in my district, and the judge dismissed the charges because they said that ICE, you know, didn't have the right evidence. I'm deeply concerned. You know, in Los Angeles, for example, if you want to join law enforcement, you have to go through at least 6 months of training before you're even on the street. And even when you're on the street, you're with a training officer. In Congress, we have yet to see Kristi Noem come before our committee to talk to us about what she's doing with the $170 billion that we gave her instead of paying for health care for the American people. And now Trump is asking for an additional $500 billion without Congress conducting any kind of oversight. So I obviously think she should resign. And I think we need to look at how ICE has been constructed under this administration. They certainly shouldn't be getting any more money unless we're able to fully investigate how they're using the money that they've already got. Because when the American people see videos, it looks like they're out on the streets killing Americans.
Let's talk about Trump, who said he canceled a second military attack on Venezuela, and U.S. military oversight could take years there. Take a listen.
How long do you think you'll be running Venezuela?
Only time will tell.
Like 3 months, 6 months, a year, longer?
I would say much longer than that.
Much longer. And
We have to rebuild. You have to rebuild the country, and we will rebuild it in a very profitable way. We're going to be using oil, and we're going to be taking oil.
Then there was that somewhat shocking move. Senate Republicans, 5 of them, voted with Democrats to advance the War Powers Resolution to curb any further military action in Venezuela without congressional approval. How powerful, Congresswoman, is this pushback, and could this hinder Trump's expectation, as he was talking about there, of a prolonged U.S. presence in Venezuela?
Well, 5 Republicans in the Senate found some courage, and I hope they share that courage juice with House Republicans when eventually, hopefully, we see this vote come before us. I want to tell you that the reason that we have foreign policy is because it's about how we use diplomacy to keep Americans safe. And not once have you heard Donald Trump talk about democracy. He's just talked about oil. Not once have you heard Secretary Rubio talk about keeping Americans safe. He's talked about oil. And we don't even know where Tulsi Gabbard is to give us information on their intelligence that would corroborate what Trump has been doing. Ultimately, this is about chasing that oil. And we don't know how much it's going to cost to do it. And we don't know if the American people will ever see it again. I am deeply concerned with this administration's dystopian imperialist foreign policy platform, and Congress has to find its backbone. The Republicans have to find some backbone to rein in this administration.
I want to talk about the protests in Iran. They are nearing the 2-week mark now, with the government taking down the internet. They're cutting off phone lines. A human rights group says at least 65 people have been killed. We've heard the president issue strong warnings to Iranian leaders. So is this another decision of Trump's that this war powers resolution could potentially rein in? Might it extend to Iran?
Well, you know, it's hard to predict what Donald Trump will say, but I will say in relationship to Venezuela and some of these other countries, a person who gets rid of a dictator to then put himself or a proxy government in power is also called a dictator. We certainly need to be watching what is happening in Iran. I know in my district, there are a number of Iranian Americans. They want peace. They don't want protesters or women to continue to be brutalized, and they want to see a transfer of power that happens through a democratic process. So I certainly stand with that. I don't know that I can trust what Donald Trump is saying, but all eyes should be on what's happening in Iran right now for sure.
Well, I appreciate the eyes and ears of you, Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager Dove. Thank you so much for joining me in the conversation, as always.